Hey, y'all know the drill. Say hi when you pop on and be patient while I pull us up. Hey again, just in case Facebook's being wonky because it just cut out and came back. Hey, how are ya? You know the drill. Say hey when you're popping on. Give me a minute to check my volume and all the things. Okay, cool. And I'm going to give you guys oh my goodness, the @everyone tag really quick. Maybe, if it lets me this time. It's so weird. Facebook's picky. I'm in the group. It won't let me do it again. Let me highlight, but so note to self. I have tried, not to self, note to all of y'all that asked me for the everyone tag. Weird. I think you guys asked me like right when Facebook decided to get wacky, and it's different because I know it'll let me do it on a regular post. Something about going live, it's like no thank you. So I will do the best I can, which I think is going to be the highlight tag. There you go. I tried. once again. So here you go. This is as close as it gets as the highlight tag. Hi, how are you guys? Maybe Facebook will show me comments today. Maybe it won't. It's the fun game we play. So, hi, how are you guys? Happy Tuesday. I have no internet at my house today, so welcome along for the ride. So, for those of you that don't know, you might be new here. Hi, I'm Margaret. We do Tuesday Tales, 20 minutes every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And the goal of these is to do quick little trainings on things that can help you in all aspects of your journey, from actual horse care and mystery lameness, solving problems, and just general horse knowledge, to improving yourself and emotional regulation and self-belief and all of those things, because the way you do one thing is the way you do all things. So when we are interacting with our horses or our spouses or our children, it all compiles and is important and relevant. So this space is definitely for learning about horses, because I'm obsessed. I'm sure you are too. And also it's about becoming the person that our horse needs us to be, so that we can be better leaders for them, better caretakers, and really just happier horse people, because happier horse people ends up creating happier horses. So welcome to Tuesday Tales. This week, I wanted to kind of talk about my adventure this weekend. You may have seen, if you follow me on my personal page, or I don't really know if I kind of talked about it last week. We did the Impact of Saddle Fit on Horse and Rider masterclass last week in the group. You can find that in the featured section. There's a lot of gold in the featured section, so if you haven't checked that out, if you haven't seen it, if you haven't been there, go to the featured section, scroll through that. The masterclass is in there, and that was a presentation that I prepared and gave at the United States Pony Club National Convention. My words are wording today. And that was on Saturday. And the talk went well. Thank you for those of you that were at the masterclass live to give me some feedback. The talk was great, as per usual. Y'all been here for a minute. No, I can talk, and so it did go longer than additionally. Words are wording. It went longer than I intended. That's all we need to know. However, that wasn't the highlight. If you missed it, it's fine, because it's in the featured section. You can go watch it. It's very similar to what my final product delivery was on Saturday. Now, the cool thing about convention was actually, of course, I went, and they have an anatomy room, which is basically a room at this hotel, like a ballroom, a convention room, whatever. It's a convention center type place. So they had like this really big room, and it was filled with tables of fun things. I posted yesterday a picture of the of the bone table. It was a very short glimpse. I have some video that I might share, but it's some of it's quite graphic, which I will say, like when I first started with learning anatomy, the idea of dissections and pieces really kind of grossed me out. So I don't really want to openly share all of it here. Maybe we'll do a special masterclass on just Zoom. So if you feel like seeing some of the stuff, you can show up, but it's not there for everybody who doesn't want to see it. So I shared a picture of the bone table, and they actually they had some other stuff that is kind of borderline, but I do get a little nerdy about it and enjoy the education that it provides, and have learned to just be grateful to the horses that made it possible for me to learn at this level, which, they didn't lose their life for me to learn, but they did lose their life, and I'm just grateful that I get to learn something from it. So the question that I asked you guys last night was, how much anatomy do you know? And I'm asking that I want to draw your attention to how important anatomy is and how completely overlooked I find it to be. Maybe you follow some really great pages on Facebook or even TikTok, Instagram, whatever, that talk about anatomy and the functional part of anatomy, as in like how muscles actually function, what ligaments actually do. And those are really valuable pages, and even knowing the bony structure can be really valuable. And when we think about anatomy, this is what gives us the baseline to start to actually figure out what's going on in lameness situations, okay? So, for example, one of the ways that we, like a big picture view, we use anatomy to figure out a lameness is, does your horse exhibit more lameness symptoms or more obvious gait I always struggle with what I want to say for this, like just unevenness, right? Like one side of the body might work better than the other, one leg might function, have more range of motion than the other. Does that come out and become more apparent when your horse is working on soft ground or hard ground? And there is a difference. In some situations, it's quite glaringly obvious, and in others, it's not. But when it is obvious, it's very important. And when we think about our understanding of tendons, ligaments, and muscles, and our understanding of bones, and how all of them work together and what their jobs are, what their specific function is within the body, it becomes a little bit obvious when we say, oh, my horse struggles more on soft ground than it does hard ground. What could that possibly mean? Well, again, when we think about the tendons, ligaments, and muscles, those are soft tissues. And the soft tissues have to work harder on soft terrain, on soft ground. They have to work harder. There's more stabilizing that needs to be done because the soft tissues are stabilizing and holding in place the skeletal structure. When we're in soft ground, in sand, there's more motion in joints, right? There's more ability for movement to be happening. So if your horse is struggling more, excuse me, on soft ground, that's a huge telltale sign there that the issue is probably more soft tissue related than skeletal. And when we look at the reverse and we say my horse struggles more on hard ground, doesn't it just make sense that working on hard ground doesn't require as much stabilization from the soft tissue, right? Because it's solid, it's not moving as the horse's foot's going through there. But there's more impact and concussion. So when your horse is struggling more on hard ground, generally speaking, it's going to be a structural, a skeletal problem, right? And so when we understand anatomy, even on a big scale, just understanding what the role is of the skeleton versus soft tissue, we get to get these little inside clues, these little hints, right? Because the other side of this is so often people are like, oh, I'm going to get my horse chiropractic. My horse could really benefit from chiropractic. I bet you they can. But instead of order of operations, instead of doing things in the right order, because the order of operations matters, they often go to chiropractic. And part of this is because so many people say that chiropractic is really great. And also, a lot of humans get chiropractic from themselves, so they understand the benefit. They've experienced it. They know what the change is like. And so they're like, I'm going to get my horse chiropractic. And that's fantastic. However, think back to, maybe you caught it when I said it just a couple minutes ago. Soft tissue is responsible for holding the skeleton in place. So if your horse is out of alignment, it stands to reason that the soft tissue is causing that misalignment. Even if your horse has been through something, right? So, perfect example. Say your horses hit their hip on their stall coming out of their stall or going in their stall, they've hit their hip. That can actually cause a misalignment in the hind end, in the pelvis, in the lumbar spine, and at that SI junction, it can cause a lot of problems, even in the hip. Okay, when that happens, we think, oh, okay, well, it's a skeletal problem, and to some extent, yes, but you have to realize that it's not just a skeletal problem, because if they hit with such force that it has torqued bone structure, in order to cause that misalignment, the soft tissue had to be affected to allow that to happen. So it still stands to reason that that soft tissue needs to be addressed and released before chiropractic is going to have the best impact. Is it still going to be helpful to have chiropractic? Yes. Is it going to have the highest and best result? No. Let me tell you why. So obviously, if the soft tissue is responsible for holding the skeleton in place, and we come in and we have someone forcefully put the skeleton back where it belongs without addressing the soft tissue, this can make the adjustment hard on the practitioner doing it, but also really uncomfortable on the horse. And when we make that kind of adjustment and the horse is uncomfortable, we have to realize it's not just the horse is uncomfortable. We have to think about the structures. Multiple structures, okay? There's fascia involved, there's potentially ligaments involved, there's muscle involved. And when we make that adjustment, all of those things are being affected, and sometimes in a very harsh way, right? Adjustments are quick. They're generally not painful. We've all been there, okay? But we also are, if you have a good chiropractor, they are probably working your muscles before and after the adjustment, whereas a horse chiropractor is just coming in and they're just adjusting them. And that can actually create more inflammation and more discomfort. And also, when those soft tissues are not addressed, they are going to pull the skeleton right back out of alignment. So, understanding even a basic level of functional anatomy is really valuable to horse people. If you are just somebody that goes out and rides, or somebody that shows, it is still so valuable for you to understand anatomy beyond this is his withers, and this is his croup, and this is his loin, and this is his neck, and that's his muzzle, and that's his pole, right? As kids, we all kind of pick up on and are taught those external markers, and that's great to know those things. But to understand at a deeper level, even like I said, just understanding the role of soft tissue versus skeleton and what they do and how they work can directly impact how well you're able to cater to your horse's needs, and also the faster you're going to be able to address those needs. Because if you have to go to your vet to have them assess the lameness, it's not usually an emergency vet call. It takes time for them to get there, for you to get on their schedule, and then for them to come to you. And that means that your horse is suffering all the longer, right? When we have a general understanding, we also know who we're going to call first, because we know who is going to best be able to address and assess the situation. When you call out the chiropractor, they are not as well versed in musculature as, say, I am as a sports massage therapist, okay? I work closely with a chiropractor. This is really fun story. So one of my first really big clients when I went out on my own a couple years ago was, this barn had, I think I saw 7 horses in a day, and they had plenty more, but 7 is my max. And they had, what I had them do was I saw their horses, a couple times, and then the third session was the day before their chiropractor came. And this is extremely valuable because we're going to loosen up that soft tissue before the chiropractor shows up. I like to do it within 24 hours of the chiropractor appointment. Within 48 is good. 24, good, better, best, right? I like 24. We get the horse nice and loose, and then they can stay loose, and that makes their adjustments easier, and it's going to make the adjustment last longer, right? So this happens, and I was there to meet the chiropractor the next day because she also does people, and I was like, I'll get an adjustment and meet this chiropractor. That'd be great. And she would ask me before each horse, like as she's just starting to get her hands on them, she'd be like, what'd you find in this horse? And I'd tell her, and she'd be like, that's exactly what I found, right? And so we had a good conversation, and she had me come out and work on her horse. And, as a chiropractor, she's giving her horse adjustments all the time. She saw a difference in the progress in her personal horse. Yes, the horse is at the barn, but her personal horse, obviously, she knows her horse best, so she could see a really big difference in having her massaged before she would get her adjustments. She saw a nice improvement in that. And also, there were things that people, we talked about some of these clients that we share, and she's like, they've been telling me this, and this for a long time, and I'm making adjustments, and they seem better, but then it goes right back, and I could explain to her why that was happening. And I want you to understand that because, first of all, this chiropractor is very open-minded, and she's a human chiropractor who took additional certification courses to work on horses. As a horse person, that makes sense, right? But she was open-minded enough to understand that, and even said straight to me that she did not get that level of equine anatomy that I did, where we're looking at the functionality of muscle and what problems come from what muscles. Like, if you're having a continuous problem with lead changes, she knows, or lead departs and keeping a lead, she knows enough to know, if you're having a problem with this lead, it's probably this hip. But she didn't know all the muscle chains that are necessarily associated with that could be actually related to other parts of the body that are creating this problem. And because she was open to that, we had a nice open conversation, and we could work together. And if she felt like she was seeing a repetitive problem in a horse, she would get in touch with me, and we would work on it together, which is the ultimate goal, right? Is to work with a team of practitioners for your horse. Because I can tell you, when I am a part of a team, there are many minds that are thinking about the best course of action for your horse and how to get them the ultimate results. So my point with this conversation is that it is worth it to you as horse people to learn a little bit more about anatomy. I don't necessarily have a suggestion on a course. I know they exist, and if you wanted my opinion, I'd be happy to look at one before you invested in it. I currently don't offer anything. I could, I guess. I don't. At this time, maybe later. I don't currently offer anything in this department, but I can tell you that it is the most challenging part of the Intuitive Equine Bodywork Certification Program. And it's not because I insist that everybody memorizes the Latin pronunciations of every muscle. It's because anatomy is so vast, and our science is still developing and still learning about the actual anatomy of so much of the horse. We're learning more and more every day how much variation there is between horse to horse and even breed to breed, right? Yes, the skeleton is essentially the same. There are minor details that we've been aware of for years that are different, but muscle texture and fascia and different variations in bones depending on genetics, little minor variations, not necessarily number of vertebrae, but perhaps shape and size, right? All of that, and then even the variation in nerve routes and arteries and things like that. Not huge variations, but again, variations nonetheless, and understanding more about the nervous system and the layout and how to interact with it. All of that stuff is new. And because it's always changing, not changing in big ways, but in little ways, it just can be a very intimidating topic. And it's a lot to remember. Even what is in the certification program is significantly less than what is in my osteopathic program. And in my osteopathic program, we're memorizing nerve roots, names of nerves, what they do, names of arteries, where they go, what they do, what they're supplying blood to, all of those kinds of things, lymph nodes, lymph systems, right? It's an endless topic. And to learn a little bit about basic functions of things will serve you really well in being able to help your horse in a really fast manner, just knowing who to call, right? Maybe you've been on the podcast, you see there's an episode called Who Do You Call? Who to Call, and it's like Ghostbusters themes, of course. Just who to call, and also how to help professionals better narrow down what's going on with your horse, because you understand the premise of each system and how it works. So maybe we'll do a Tuesday Tale theme on this. I'm not sure. This was really pressed upon me because even as a professional, going through and actually seeing things in person really helped me to grasp just how much and how complex and how much I've retained, right? But also how much it benefited me and how much it shifts when you see things in a different perspective, right? Because I was seeing actual 3D models of things and actual pieces, real pieces. Anyways, so that's all, you guys. Find somewhere to learn more about anatomy, even if it's at a really high level. You don't have to go in depth, but learn more than just what's on the surface. Learn the basic functions of things so that you can better help your horse and better serve your horse by helping professionals a little bit understand what's going on and communicate more clearly what you're seeing. So that's all for Tuesday Tales today. I just want to give you guys a reminder that Equine Alchemy is launching again on February 10th, and this is the last week. This is the last week to get the early bird pricing of $97 for the full 15-day experience. If you need to know more about Equine Alchemy, search the group, shoot me a message. One of the things, but yeah, this is the last chance for early bird pricing that goes through the 31st. So get your ticket. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be fantabulous, because the first time was fantabulous, and the second time, it's only going to get better. So, all right, you guys, happy Tuesday. TTFN.